Hello everyone. We continued the investigation of Blind Frog Ranch in June of 2022. New technology was used. I added a GeoSurvey 3D magnetometer imaging, a deep metal detection unit capable of detecting metals and cavities down to 26 feet, which until recently was unheard of. We used directional acoustic detectors and a brand new multi-frequency hand-carried ground-penetrating radar unit. What were we looking into and trying to determine? Several things to be exact. First, does the phenomena occurring down south on the Uinta Basin exist here? If so, what's happening? And can the origins be discovered? Second, are there connections to ancient, lost cultures and/or civilizations? Mostly important to me being what we would consider giants or men of great stature. Third, is the treasure hunting aspect of the property. Are there mines, caverns, or quite possibly underground structures? Do some of those contain stored caches of treasure, gold, and/or ancient documents or artifacts? Areas to the north of Blind Frog Ranch must be included in the investigation. Entrance to an underground cavern system could be just north of the property. Artifacts and structures could also be below, which are related to those that were living on Blind Frog Ranch in the past, including 10,000 plus years ago. This anomalous structure had myself and many others wondering what it was. It's north of Blind Frog Ranch. It matched locations in past Mormon journals and other historical data stating it was one possible entrance to a very important underground location, one that the Mormon Church fought fiercely to protect and keep a secret in the 19th and early 20th century. After this time period, it was forgotten about. The Ute also considered it sacred and protected it for a very long time. Now most of the Ute are unaware that the massive site ever existed. This is us climbing to the top of that structure. It was no easy task. It appeared to be a volcanic feature. Almost at the top of what seriously looks to be the top of a naturally formed dome, almost exclusively volcanic rock. The top has been marked by the Spaniards with three 6-foot tall structures. The three structures have been placed into a triangle formation, most likely marking what is in the center. The third structure, unfortunately, has fallen and is now a heap of stone. The center of the structures has a large crevice. It has been covered up, so people do not know it's there, unless you're looking for it. It goes down approximately 25 feet, entering the underground. What is below is yet to be discovered. I should change that maybe to rediscovered. I'm convinced that this is one of the three entrances to Tamhuancan. Tamhuancan is sacred for the Aztec and other Mesoamericans. It's probably better known as Ker Shinab to those in the Utah area. Some may call it the Sacred Mines. A second entrance is just north of Blind Frog Ranch. The third is possibly on Blind Frog Ranch and would be the southernmost entrance. There are many mines all around the area. We entered some that had just recently been reopened, by whom we don't know. All these tools and mining tech from the 19th or early 20th century were still inside the mine. The mine goes 85 yards back, then goes down a vertical shaft deep. That section was not explored by the team. These are Aztec artifacts made from gold or a gold-copper mix. They're in the National Anthropology Museum in Mexico City. The centerpiece is a large gold bar, most likely what the conquistadors carried away from Tenochtitlan. Similar ancient artifacts are what I expect are being held deep below Blind Frog Ranch and north of the ranch in the Uinta Mountains. I believe there are also copper, bronze, gold plates of records made by people of large stature, desert archaic people, and quite possibly other cultures, civilizations, or species we have yet to learn about or rediscover in the ancient historical records. My understanding are coming from the known historical records of oral traditions, petroglyphs, and pictographs. When we discuss artifacts, we're going back to a period before a major catastrophic event, the last being a deluge. Others followed, surviving below ground in the ancient underground site. Later, that site became sacred to those peoples that followed. Much was added to the underground system in terms of wealth and knowledge over time. The ancient leaders of many cultures and civilizations are said to be buried below. A hall of knowledge is said to exist with them, protected by the great Towat. This is a close-up of the Aztec gold bar. After the conquistadors were forced out of Tenochtitlan, the leaders following the great Moctezuma may very well have had the Aztec treasures whisked northward to Tamuan Khan to be secured by the Great Spirit. The Aztec returned to their origin, Utah. Understand that Antelope Island on the Great Salt Lake is most likely origin for the Aztec. Tamuan Khan, or better known as Kershinab, was a place of survival for all the known races and species. This included the ancestors of the Kulawa Mexica, those whom you now know as the Aztec. Copper, bronze, and gold were important to the ancient Toltec and the more recent Aztec. Both Mesoamerican groups are directly tied to northeastern Utah, especially the Uinta Mountains, a direct connection to Blind Frog Ranch. It is shown in the artifacts and location of what is now being called the bead site on the ranch. For those of you who do not believe there's anything below the Uinta Mountains and Basin, think again. If I had a raft or canoe on this day, we could have had an epic experience. Now, I truly believe that at a depth of 1,000 feet and deeper, there's connectivity throughout the Uinta Mountains and Basin in all directions of the compass. You must think big and deep, not small and shallow. This was a more recent mine. It ended right here. What you're looking at are wood pieces pulled up from the earlier mine that exists below it. That mine below is said to hold enough gold to completely pave the streets of Salt Lake City in it. When someone with me struck the ground here, we immediately realized it was hollow below. A wood platform had been placed below the rubble. We could hear sound from the wood banging against the platform, echoing great distances in multiple directions. That mine below is said to connect to the ancient underground tunnels and caverns. Now, for those that don't believe things so great could still be hidden and unknown from us in the 21st century, I beg you to remember what has been found in Mesoamerica and continues to be found. Entire cities are still hidden below our feet. The sacred tea, not just with Mesoamerican cultures, but also with those in the desert Southwest, especially Utah. That is because these groups were one and the same. We are, of course, more focused in on the Aztec and the Toltec, for they both had direct dealings in northeastern Utah. The sacred tea directly deals with the Shoshone, the Paiute, and the Timpanogos tribes and/or bands. The great god, Towat, is directly tied into these groups, the sacred tea and Blind Frog Ranch. It's believed that Towat guards what is on and directly north of Blind Frog Ranch. The sacred tea is also important to the cosmology of many cultures and civilizations located throughout the world. For the desert archaic people that lived in the Blind Frog Ranch area, it was a major part of their belief in existence in this fourth and or fifth world according to their oral tradition. Some have said that the great god Towat looks after the sacred site and can only be seen in all his greatness from above. When you're around this tree that is on top of Blind Frog Ranch, looking over the entire land in all directions, you cannot help but feel a presence around you and an energy of unknown origin. It feels like you're being watched. This is a photo taken by Chris Bartell of Bass. He worked at Skinwalker Ranch for over 6 years and is a vital part of our research team and efforts. One day he felt the need to create a mirror image of the tree. This is what adding dimension did. There is the sacred tea, a sacred tree, and what looks to be a face, maybe the creator. Now, I've thought about this photo for some time. Something was calling out to be seen, even experienced. So it got me to thinking, maybe manipulating the photo was a way of mimicking what would have been experienced through ritual or ceremony by fasting, meditation, and altering frequencies with use of songs and musical instruments. What if altering perception with certain narcotics also produces this effect? Think ayahuasca or DMT. hallucinogenic? Does communicating with other entities require us to alter our perception, change how we perceive what is around us, opening other realms or higher dimensions, to start seeing what the Native Americans clearly could see? This manipulated stone has been turned into a marker pointing toward Blind Frog Ranch. It points toward what we believe are now the Three Hearts mines near Crow Creek on Blind Frog Ranch. This manipulated stone is on the ranch and pointing toward the same Three Hearts mines location. The clues are out there. They need to be further investigated and explored, which takes time when you must consider factors such as the state and federal government, the ecosystem habitat along the creek, weather and seasons, and most of all, who is watching and does not want anything underground found or disturbed. And I'm not just hinting toward people. I'm hinting toward supernatural or high strangeness involved in whatever the phenomena is. What looks like a simple walk from above on Google Earth is insanely difficult and time-consuming to traverse on the ground. I know, I make that same mistake every single year, forgetting about my prior research on the land. Attempts to get underground from the ranch are clearly on the property. This hole was drilled and is approximately 80 feet deep. Some of the carved rock symbols on the ranch are so old that they are almost missed when looking for this type of historical record. This symbol was used a lot by Europeans to mark mines and hidden caches of processed ore. It could easily have been left by the Spaniards that we know were on the property from artifacts found around the location over the last 12 years. This includes halberd points. My research this year clearly shows that a majority of the water in the underground cavern system below Blind Frog Ranch originated from this spot, the Mosby Sink. You can walk into the underground and see mines that were dug inside the sink when the water has gone below in the summer months, just like you see here. Just don't go below on a day where it's about to rain. This is the entrance that had several inches of ice formed throughout. One of our team slipped in and almost slid into the cavern. In the third presentation on Blind Frog Ranch, I'll take you deeper below ground and present this data for you to view and follow up on yourself. Here we are with Dwayne working out a plan for obviously future investigations. I want everyone to remember that my work is independent of any television show that you see on TV. What happens on that may not represent the real picture of how truly amazing the area is and what really is down below. I've spent years of research to get to where we are now. I'll present more data to you soon. Take care, and please remember to press like on this video. Even better, please follow me on my YouTube channel. It's becoming my favorite way to update everyone on my worldwide search for the truth on the giants and other ancient races and civilization lost to the current historical record. Take care, everyone.